ResponsibleOhio.com for all the details.
This week, backers of an effort to legalize marijuana in Ohio for medicinal and recreational use began collecting the thousands of signatures needed to get the proposal before voters in November. The group Responsible Ohio started gathering those signatures Wednesday in the state's larger cities and will soon expand the efforts across the state. They need more than 305,000 signatures from at least 44 of the 88 state counties. Joining us with more on this push is an advisor, a consultant to Responsible Ohio, and former state representative Bob Hagan. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. It's no secret Ohio continues to deal with a heroin epidemic. Many opponents say that marijuana is one of those gateway drugs. Wouldn't legalization of this drug create more addiction in the state?
Actually, that's not true. We have found through not just one but multiple studies that indicate that it is not a gateway drug. The real gateway drug is that drug dealer who will no longer be selling marijuana but will be selling the heroin and the rest. And in our particular situation, we're asking for identifications. A drug dealer does not ask for ID. So we're specific about making sure that 21-year-old and over are asked for those IDs, and there's stiff penalties if they don't.
What is your reaction to Columbus attorney John Allison, who represents Drug Free Action Alliance, and his quote saying this is a terrible idea that would create profit-making drug cartels in the state? And what kind of barriers would be set up if that happened, if this were to pass?
Well, I didn't hear John Allison or any of them talk about the municipalities or those organizations, actually those organizations that do in fact have a monopoly. Like the cable companies or the electric companies, they're the ones. But in our particular incidents, in Responsible Ohio, what we're trying to do is to set up competition amongst 10 different organizations, facilities that will, in fact, compete. That doesn't sound to me like it's a cartel. It sounds like it's what we're all made of here in the United States, and that's competition.
Take us through the process. How would this work?
Well, here's how it would work. First off, you have to get the 305,000 signatures, as you mentioned at the beginning of the show. The second part of it is to make sure that you're getting people that are legitimately out there getting those signatures. Once those signatures are attained and that we get those signatures, then we present that to the Secretary of State. They go through the whole process of making sure the 88 counties, or I think it's 44 of those counties, have to have it. They make sure that they're legitimate, and then it goes through the process to the voters. And the voters have an opportunity to make sure that they register their yes or no's on this particular initiative. And then after that, it goes to the legislature, so the legislature makes sure that it's put in place. The biggest issue, I think, that we have to worry about is that we have to make sure that it is done in a safe and legal way. So we're first off trying to legalize it, and secondly trying to make sure that it's safe. If you have people out there selling marijuana helter-skelter, then you have the possibility of them spiking it with something with heroin or cocaine or crack cocaine. What we want to do is make sure that it specifically is regulated, that it is clean, that it's making sure that it's done the right way.
One report says legal pot could generate more than $550 million annually in tax revenue once the industry is established. Is it possible the Valley could see money in education, roads, public services? If this comes
we did our best to make sure that at least we got a research center in the Mahoning Valley. That means jobs. That means an opportunity for people that are interested in research to start to probably 5 to 10, maybe 50 jobs right there. But what it really does is it specifically says that the localities, regardless of where they are located, will share in the wealth of this. So we could end up with $9, 10, $15 million locally. Look, I joke about pot, but you know, we have potholes. And if we can get money from pot to fill those potholes, I think we should probably do that. There's a lot of money involved in this whole process, and I want to make sure that the Valley gets some as well.
Responsible Ohio is starting in the big cities with their petitions. When do you think we could see it here in Youngstown and in the Valley?
Less than 2 weeks. I just talked to someone this morning, and we want to get out into the hinterlands and make sure that the Valley people have an opportunity to sign. Less than 2 weeks, we'll have people in the Valley gathering signatures, and most importantly, I'm going to make sure that we hire some people here to get those jobs, to make sure that we get the signatures as well.
We mentioned early on that you were a consultant to Responsible Ohio. What specifically has been your role?
Well, my role is to make sure that we talk to a lot of public officials, to make sure that we're reaching out to the communities to let them know doing press interviews is very important, but the consulting end of it is basically because almost 18 years ago, I introduced medical marijuana, and I've tried desperately to get medical marijuana for those individual families that have kids that are suffering from Dravet or a syndrome that can cause a lot of people, young babies, to suffer. And it's really a struggle. So I tried desperately to do that. Now we have people that are willing to put their money where their mouth is. Before we couldn't get that. So now I'm saying to the people in the valley, the people all over, this is important because we have people that are willing to put their money up to make sure we pass this. Otherwise, it's just not going to pass unless we have that support.
Certainly a topic that we will talk a lot about until election time. Bob Hagan, thank you so much for coming in.
You're certainly welcome.
We appreciate it. Jen?